switched my screens around, so I'm like not used to the layout that I have at the moment. But yeah, hello, I'm Alex, one half of Married with Dragons. So it's just me tonight. Yeah. Ben is not feeling the greatest, so I am kind of coming into this a bit unprepared, but that's okay because, lucky for me, I know how to ramble and talk about anything, I guess. Well, especially with D&D, I can talk about the other side of it, since most of our podcasts really do have a DM twist to it. So I've never been a DM, so this is going to be more of a player's kind of point of view. So yeah, usually I lead off with a bit of news, but it's once again quiet in the D&D world. Okay, I'm actually gonna have to switch my screens over because this is kind of like freaking me out a little bit. Also, I don't know why I look like the Tin Man, so can everyone just ignore how shiny I look, because I think it's a mixture of my makeup. I look like I'm glowing. But yes, Christy, hello. I'm just gonna see if I can turn my brightness down a little bit. Probably should have done this beforehand. Usually I before stream checked if everything's looking, a-okay. But I just thought, no, it should be fine, but here I am. Okay, so I rearranged my phone the other day. And you know when you move all your apps into folders and then you can't find them again? What's it called? Elgato. I have to re-download it. That's okay. Oh no, I don't. Control center. There we go. Let's turn this down just a little bit. There we go. My head's still super shiny, but that's fine. We can cope with that. Yeah, it's a bit of highlighter, bit of foundation, bit of everything, so it's fine. But it's a bit quiet in the D&D news. Sorry, there you go. Very quiet in the D&D news at the moment. Obviously, we spoke last week of Critical Role Campaign 3 kicking off again, which is really exciting. So there's been 2 episodes out. 3, actually? 3? No, 2. I think the third one airs tomorrow, Australia time. So 3 tonight. And I haven't caught up with the latest episode, but it is actually really good so far. Like, I have my... obviously my favorite character so far. Like, I'm really loving Ashley Johnson's character, and Marisha, I don't know her last name, but Marisha's character as well. They're definitely a lot of fun. But other than that, there's a few more book releases coming out, and that we've already covered, but nothing that's coming out super soon. So it's now all quiet again, which is fun, because usually with D&D and Wizards of the Coast, something pops up randomly and they just surprise everyone. But going on to the story time though, it's more of it's just a little story. So last session, I feel as though if there's any players in the chat, do you ever feel like you do the weirdest things in campaigns? Like, you think you can do something real obscure or real unique in a way, but so my party and I were on this boat, and we're heading up north on a little quest to track down someone, and we're going into kind of like the ice caps, so like a North Pole kind of thing, or Antarctica. Anyway, very, very cold, very, very icy, icebergs everywhere, ice caps. And we're on this boat, we've got our snow gear, which is all good, but you kind of need, I don't know what they're called, but they're the things for your shoes for snow, like the spiky shoes, or the ones where you can dig your foot in to stabilize yourself. So we're trying to make them, which we couldn't, and then I thought we need some ice picks. So let's try and make some ice picks on this boat that doesn't have a lot of supplies. There is some blacksmiths, but they don't have anything to do blacksmithing with. So I'm in my bag, rummaging around, trying to figure out something. And I had these 4 candle holders I stole from a house. And they were silver. And they're long stem candle holders. So they would be like about this big for a long stem candle holder. And they're quite narrow. And I was like, perfect. If I can shape this, it would be a perfect ice pick. So with no blacksmithing and no, tools, I thought as a bard that I can try and use a bit of magic. Now, I was hoping a wizard would have Firebolt, but they only had Fireball, and that's if anyone doesn't know that spell, it is it's an area of effect. So for a tiny little stem, it could blow up the bloody boat. So I couldn't use that. So I thought I could somehow, so I had Lightning Bolt. I could Lightning Bolt and then use Spiritual Hammer to, lightning it to char it, because it's metal, it'll get all hot as it's a conductor. And then use Spiritual Hammer to weld it into place. I didn't end up doing it because apparently with Lightning Bolt, you can't exactly pinpoint where it goes. It's like it just goes through. So it was kind of like if I rolled really well, it could have worked. Or the other chance was blowing up the boat. So with a few spells, it was just could work, could blow up the boat. What chance do I want to make here? So yeah. It was just kind of something that I didn't want to chance it. Knowing me, I would definitely, I would blow up the boat. But I just thought, I feel as though at least once in campaigns, you come across an obscure thing to do. It takes creative thinking to that next level, which is just, it's kind of funny. And then I think I tried to dimension door back to, I didn't try it, I was thinking, it was just an open idea. The other idea was to dimension door back into town, which was about 100 feet away, to go to a blacksmith and dimension door back to the ship. But yeah, time was not on my side, so that wouldn't have worked. But yeah. That is my little story, how things can get real weird with campaigns and get real creative and unique. So yeah. But going on to the rest of this podcast is pretty much, I put a story out today, and we haven't kind of done this style before. Well, I decided I'm just going to take this idea and make it to mine. Usually I would do this with Ben, but he's not here. But do a Q&A. So I did put the question out there, what is generalized kind of questions that anyone that is either a veteran D&D player or brand new to D&D would like to know. So we're just going to go through a couple of them. So let me just pull them up. I probably should have come a little bit prepared for this. Okay. So one of the common questions was any tips on how to find a group or people you can learn with, how to join in on games. And we've covered this one before, but I'll go over it again for anyone new here. But D&D is, obviously it started out as a tabletop game, and obviously with that it was mainly imagination before maps and props came in, but either way it's mainly a tabletop game. But it has been have the ability to play online, so you can play over Discord and use obviously imagination and such. All you need is a player sheet, or you can use Roll20. So with finding a group, a lot of game stores do game nights or open nights. You couldn't really call them open nights, but they're free to play kind of nights thing. And you can always pop into your local game store. Now, when I say game store, I don't mean video games. I mean tabletop games, so board games. Yeah, you can go in and meet people there, and you get joined in with groups that kind of sit with your skill level. So if you're a veteran player and you go, you'll be with a bit more of a group that would be that know how to run. Everything is going how it's meant to be. Rules you don't really need to learn. You just get thrown in. But there's also there's also groups where you can kind of give it a shot, give it a go, and everything like that. And you can also check with Facebook groups, Reddit, and even just asking around, because there's always DMs out there that probably want to do an online group as well. And you can just join in. You don't really need to know everyone, because it's a very social game, but you can kind of just go in and you don't really need to know everyone. You can just join a game, not a video. I'm thinking video games here when I say join a match, but you can just go to your local local game store and see what they have, or if you're feeling brave enough and have, depends if you want to try DMing a go, you can start your own group. You don't need to have been a player to then be a DM. You can find a lot of resources online to start your own group, or if you're a player, still start your own group and see if there's anyone really interested in DMing. So if you're not a DMing kind of type, but you know someone that would be great at it, that's really great at presenting, great at creativity, communication, and all of that, they might even pick up an interest on it, especially if they're have been also interested in playing. So I guess it's a bit of reaching out in a way, because I know as a player's point of view, I mean, I have my own kind of groups that I play with, but I don't see a lot of open groups unless I go to my local game store. So it's a bit of asking around, but yeah, that's probably the easiest way to find a group. But yeah, the next question is, where do you get your dice from? So there's many, many places to get your dice. So you can get them in person at board game stores. They will always stock them. I know mine always stock Chessex, so you can get Chessex online as well. But there's a lot of dice stores out there, and a lot of them are much of a muchness. You can have your high-end dice, which are probably made from resin and small business owners. They kind of make them. I know there's some out there quite expensive. They're made with resin, but they have flowers or something in them, so you can get really fancy dice. I know I have a fancy pair which is made out of rose quartz. But dice you can get from anywhere. You can get from game stores, you can get on eBay if you really want to. They're not that expensive. If I'm just going to do a shameless plug for anyone here is looking at dice, Random Encounter Dice is probably my favourite store. They're Australian, but they also stock the Kraken dice. Now, Kraken is an international website, and sometimes it can be a bit hard to shop directly from Kraken, especially with shipping costs. But Random Encounter stock Kraken. So Kraken is another brand of dice that I really, really love. But Random Encounter dice would have to be my favourite. So yeah, if you want to have a look on their website, go ahead. They're affordable, and they have quite a big range of really pretty colours. They have some metal dice, which are a little bit more expensive. They're harder. Would not recommend throwing metal dice on any wooden tables. Get a mat for that. But you can get dice from pretty much anywhere, but Random Encounter is my favourite. And what type of D&D is out there? So I guess types of D&D comes down to editions. So obviously in the ages, D&D has developed new editions. So currently we're on 5th edition. I've never played any other edition but 5th edition. So yeah, I can't really comment on what the other editions are like, as I have never experienced them. But I'm gonna guess from what I've heard, the development editions is kind of either development of rules, for redefining rules, or changing rules, adding more content. Um, if you're asking in what type of D&D is out there, as in stories, I guess there's many campaigns out there. You can get the stock standard, like already pre-made campaigns, or you can also homebrew as well. But yeah, with D&D, it ranges with the campaigns, but we're currently on 5th edition, which is what I'm playing at the moment. But yeah. And can we play D&D online? Yes, Roll20 or Discord or voice chat, Skype, whatever you'd like to do, you can use that. Roll20 is probably one of the best sites, especially if you don't have a lot of made up content yourself and you need to use other resources. There is I'm pretty sure it's a subscription price, and you can pay for the content on there too. So it really depends if you'd like to buy pre-made content. But you can also, I think you can pretty much upload your own content to it as well. So yeah, you can play it online. You don't need a site, but if you'd like visuals and adding more resources or handouts, then Roll20 is a really great one to use. And how do you get into D&D? I guess that's hard, like, because if you're interested, you then need to find a group, which is what I just covered before. But like, if you have had an interest in D&D, you can always watch live streams of people playing it, or you can watch Critical Role. Now, when I say watch Critical Role, that is very high production. So D&D is not like Critical Role. Like, it's okay. A friend of mine mentioned this in probably the best way. It's probably a little bit MA for stream, but Critical Role is like porn. It is the high production of D&D. They're voice actors. They're professionals. They've got actual professional cameras, and yeah, it looks and is amazing. But when you play like real life D&D, it's not like that. So yeah, I highly recommend maybe looking on Twitch, looking at a few streams, as some are probably more closer to what a real life game would be, compared to that high production value that Critical Role has. So yeah, when I first got into D&D, I watched Critical Role, and that set my expectations up real high. But still, when I played, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, how to get into D&D is to give it a go. Just give it a shot. If it's something that you don't know if you'll like, doesn't matter. Just dive right in. You don't have to commit to a campaign. If you play a few sessions and realize it's not for you, just speak to the DM, and then they can either make a little plot story, whatever, loophole, to then get your character out. So yeah, you don't have to. It's great to commit to a campaign, but if you just let your DM or whoever's running it know that you just want to see how it goes and join, and if it's something that you may not like, you may opt out. But yeah. And another question is, why is there so many dice? Okay, how many dice is there? I think there's 7. So each dice has its own function. So the main dice that you would use is the D20. So it has 20 sides. So this is the dice that you would use to pretty much for all your checks, to see if you hit, saving throws. Yeah, it's pretty much everything you use with D&D. So yeah, I think all the other ones may have will then relate to maybe weapons or spells. Like, I know with one of my barbarians, I only used 3 dice. That was it. The others just sat there, and there's still dice that I still haven't used really before. So a lot of them kind of relate to the type of weapons or type of spells that we use. So for example, if you have a spell and you manage to hit, you may roll 3d6, which a d6 is a normal dice, to figure out how much damage you're going to do. And then you might, use a longsword, and that could be a d10. So then you'd roll a d10 to then figure out the damage. So yeah, the d20 is your main dice, while the rest kind of go with either weapons, spells, or gambling. You can gamble in D&D, which is the percentile dice, where they are pretty much exactly the same. But yeah, some dice packs like the Kraken, they come with a lot of extra dice. I know I have a 12 set from Kraken, and I think it came with like four D20s and like a couple of D6s as well. So yeah, you can get bigger dice sets, but which is probably where it gets a bit daunting. When you look at the dice, you think, oh, you've got to have to use all of them all the time, which you don't. The D20 is your main dice. But so yeah, they all have their own function. You just may not be using everything you may not be using all the functionality of the dice. And what does rolling a 1 mean? So a 1 is pretty much the 1 is featured on it's featured on all of the dice, but the main, when you say what does rolling a 1 mean, that comes from the D20. So with the D20, you have the 1 and then you have the 20. Number 1 is pretty much a critical fail, while 20 is a critical hit or success. So for example, if you're in combat and you roll a 1, yeah, obviously you're going to fail whatever you're doing, but it kind of just gives the opportunity for something bad to happen. So for example, I could roll, say my character is swinging a warhammer at an enemy, but I have an ally on the side, and I'd roll a critical 1. I could miss, and because it was a critical fail, I end up hitting the ally. Or I will throw my warhammer or something, or maybe my axe will break if I was using an axe, or throwing a spear, the spear's gone forever. So it's just kind of like that. It just adds that that you're going to fail, but there's really going to be something tied with it as well. So if I roll a 2, it'd be like, oh, you just miss. While 1 would be like, okay, something bad is going to happen. So a 1's not great. When it comes to ability checks and stuff, the 1 doesn't really matter that much. It's not really a fail because you add your modifier. So if you have a +7 to charisma, then you've got an 8. So it's not like a dire oh no, but you still got that 1. Doesn't matter. But yeah, that's what the critical fail does, the nat 1. To go into nat 20 though, obviously that's the opposite. So with combat, usually a critical hit means double damage. So yeah, getting those 20s is really, really really rewarding in combat. And even in any skill checks or ability checks, it's great anyway, because you add your modifier onto it, and yeah, you just get a really high score. So yeah. But that's pretty much all the questions that I have today, and I hope I answered them without rambling way too much, even though I'm really good at it. Now, Ben usually is here for the joke. I don't really do jokes, and I didn't look one up because I can't say jokes right, and I would not be able to remember it. I'll have to read it off my phone, and that just doesn't have the same effect. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll be back next week. There'll be not just me. You won't have to deal with me this whole time. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. We're on at 8 p.m. every Thursday. Over on Game on Oz. Make sure you follow the channel for more amazing creators and amazing streams. And yeah, see you next week. All right, thanks guys. Bye.
Hey, legends. Thanks for watching the show. If you want to make sure that you're across all of the Game on Oz content here on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe button. Likes and comments also help us out in the long run. Cheers. I'll see you on the next one.